Joining me today is Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, Bernadette, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
hmm so where in the States are you?
Thanks for asking. I am in Seattle, near Seattle, Washington. So a little town north of it called Mill Creek.
Oh, nice. I've never been there.
It's
Sounds nice.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fairly family-centric kind of place where everybody's walking their dogs, lots of beautiful trails. And what we love the most about it is some protected wetlands and lots of trees because of that. So there's a lot of birds around here. So we get beautiful bird song all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a tree facing our balcony and there's lots of birds of all kind and it's beautiful to see. Yeah. So to start, can you tell us more about you and what you do?
Absolutely. So I am a wife and a mom of three. So as you can imagine, I do not have free time, but I love it. I was one of those people who always wanted to be a mom.
Mhm.
I was one of those teens that was the mom of the group, making sure everybody had their sweaters, drank their water, had snacks. This might be a little embarrassing, but um, it's just what I always wanted. I was always a nurturing person, and it made me feel happy. And as I was at a very young age, I found out that I had some health conditions that were going to make it difficult for me to conceive and carry a child healthy to term. And I knew there was only so much I could do about that. But one of the things I could control was my own health and fitness. And so before I had my first child, I started a health and fitness journey and I lost over 100 pounds in that process and had two successful, beautiful babies and maintained that weight loss.
Mm,
And in that time, I kind of came to the world of coaching through MLM and
mm,
really found a passion for it and discovered how integral mindset is in all of those things. The mindset really drives you when you're in that process of trying to be healthy and trying to maintain healthy choices and building a healthy lifestyle, not just externally, but internally, starting to love and accept yourself.
mm.
Because I came from an abusive childhood background and was raised with zero self-esteem. And I came to understand how I needed to work on that, as well as things like nutrition and exercise, that I needed to be healthy in my mind and my spirit on top of the external stuff. And to make sure I really understood that message, I ended up failing to set boundaries with an individual who completely sabotaged all of the mindset work I'd done. And I fell into a severe clinical depression for over 6 years. And I gained all the weight back. And I was in this really incredibly dark place that I just could not find my way out of. I knew the tools that I would need to get better. I just couldn't get past that oppressive weight of that depressive state. And for various reasons, therapy and medication just weren't an option for me. So I was trying to do this while raising my two babies and just do it on my own. And that's probably why it took so long. And then I finally got to a place where I could pull myself out of it. I found the strength to make the choice, and I found just the little things I could do that would start me on the path to climbing out of it. And I ended up getting pregnant with my third child and having my third baby in kind of a traumatic way. We're both fine now. But in that process, I ended up unlocking my intuitive gifts on a level that was far deeper than anything I'd ever felt before. And I started getting messages and synchronicities and signs that this was a gift, not just for me, but it was something that I needed to share. And it wasn't just you're going to read tarot cards for people and give them guidance. It was you're going to bring that and all of that work you did on mindset and healthy life balance and whole self health, and you're going to tie it all together and you're going to share it with the world.
Wow. What a beautiful start of your story. Thank you for sharing. Um, there's a few things to unpack. Yeah, let's talk about depression as a mom. I'm a mom, a
Absolutely.
single mom,
Yeah.
doing it alone. And I'm still fighting depression as well. And unfortunately, not everyone understands, even though they're parents. When we're doing it alone, that's a whole new ball game, right? What
Yeah.
would you say to, to parents that are struggling?
First of all, forgive yourself.
Mm,
You absolutely have to forgive yourself because it is not your fault that you're in this condition. It is not your fault that you have no energy. It is not your fault that you are sad. It is not your fault that you can't be that amazing, present, Pinterest perfect mom for your kids or dad for your kids. It is not your fault. You did not choose to be depressed. You didn't do anything to make this happen. It is a medical condition, it is a chemical condition, and it is not your fault. So you
mhm,
really need to forgive yourself, and you're going to have to work on that daily because it's not the kind of thing where you're like, oh yeah, okay, fine, I get it, I'm over it. You're going to
mhm,
have to spend a little portion of every single day, if not many points throughout the day,
mhm,
forgiving yourself
mhm, mhm,
because you physically cannot just get up. You cannot just flip a switch and feel better. Is
mhm,
you are going to do everything you can to make sure your kids are eating, to make sure your kids are clean and healthy, to make sure your kids are happy. And if you're doing that, then you're already doing a huge amount.
mhm,
And if
mhm,
it's too much to take care of yourself on top of that, I've been there. I get it.
mhm,
Ask for help. I know it's the hardest thing in the world. It is
mhm.
absolutely incredibly difficult. It is demoralizing. It is humiliating. It is all of the things, but you deserve that help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You need to let yourself ask for help. And it doesn't have to be from a therapist, although you should consider it if you have the ability to. But even if you just ask for help from friends, from a neighbor, even if it's just a teeny little thing, maybe they take the kids for an afternoon to the playground with their own kids and you let that happen and you take time to rest, you
Mhm.
get a shower, you maybe eat a little something, it's going to make a world of difference. And if you ask for a little bit of help here and there throughout the process, it's going to get a little easier each time.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I needed to hear that. I'm always up to learn from amazing people like you, and I hope someone who is watching or listening needed to hear that because it's so hard to forgive ourselves. Some of us were so hard on ourselves to the point that it cripples us because there's no leeway. We can be nice to other people. We can say nice things about them most of the time or do nice things for them. But when it comes to us, we just don't do that enough, or we don't do it at all. And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, we just don't do it. Um, so your mindset coach,
I am.
I don't know what mindset is, but I think that every coach takes a different approach. Can you tell us of your approach as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a certified mindset coach, I take kind of the science and psychological side behind mindset, which is things like your belief system, your beliefs. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about the aspects that are your very core of your identity. So, what you believe about family, what you believe about your about finances, what you believe about health and fitness, and then the aspects that are most important to you, those things that are central to your identity or your core beliefs. There are also things like the limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, low self esteem, that inner critic, all of those, I should do, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm,
Those are another huge aspect. And we all know about those things. And we all know that they're self imposed and they hold us back from a lot of things. But it's the thing that's hard about it is that people may know it, but they don't know what to do about it. And
mhm,
that's totally fair enough because those are things that have been trained into you since your formative years.
mhm,
They're the stories that have been told to you by your parents, by your teachers, by your community leaders, all of these well intentioned adults who were trying to help shape you into a functional, independent, good human being have also inadvertently put all of these things on you that make it so that you have, struggles with money. You have this scarcity mindset, and you don't actually believe that you can have more in your life because you didn't see that. Maybe you grew up lower middle class or less, and it's just impossible to think of a world where you're not living paycheck to paycheck. It's impossible to conceive of a world where you have a good credit score and you actually have a down payment for a house. And so, of course, you're going to have trouble seeing opportunities that could present themselves to give you exactly that. Of course, it's going to be hard to accept that with just a little bit of help, you could learn to get there. You could learn to budget. You could learn to finance. You could learn to invest. And you could raise yourself out of that position because you've spent your whole life being told, seeing the model and behavior of others, and having your own life experiences that reaffirm these limits. So what I love to do for myself and for others is to start with those beliefs. When I work with mindset, it's all about starting with those beliefs, because if we can identify what those beliefs are, then we can start to rewrite them. I'm a writer at heart, so I love to talk about this and just become the editor of your own beliefs and take that red pen and exit through all those things that are no longer serving you and begin to rewrite it into something that's empowering you, so that now you do open your eyes to the things that are around you that could move you forward, that can bring you closer to those dreams that you have, those goals that you want for not just yourself, but your family and everyone around you. And that to me is kind of the essence of magic, is the fact that our perception shapes our reality in a very real sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, you're giving me a lot to think about. Cool. Yeah, the belief. I'm so happy that you start with that. That's something you kind of help people go towards, because it's true. As you were speaking, I thought of the word generational trauma. And I've also learned that trauma not only starts when we're born, it starts when we're in the womb. Maybe there was a fight or argues between parents or wherever we were. And it's good to go back to all those beliefs, because our beliefs makes us who we are.
They really
And
do.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, we get our beliefs from the people who raise us. So that's parents, teachers, yada, yada, yada. Where do they get it? From their parents and teachers and yada, 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 and so on and so forth. So when you think about some of the things that shape your belief system, things like money doesn't grow on trees. We all know that phrase.
Yeah.
It's become integral to our cultural mindset. It's a belief that raises us. It gives us this sense of scarcity, that finances and money in abundance is not something that is abundant. It's not growing. It doesn't have its own energy. It's just, you understand why they tell you that, because they want you to work hard and appreciate what you have and not just expect everything to be given to you. But it instills this sense in you that there's always going to be lack, that there's never going to be enough, that there's never, a way for you to have more, and you're going to have to wait and be patient, and you're still not going to have enough. But that comes from a generation that was dealing with the Depression, that was dealing with world wars, that has nothing to do with the world we live in today. So we're judging ourselves based on a paradigm from a generation that is so removed from where we are at now that it's laughable. If you can look at it from that perspective, it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah, it does. Give me a scenario how you would tackle some of the beliefs that a client may have.
Absolutely. So this is, like I said, this is where I start with my clients. When I'm working with them, and especially in my 12-week program, the first thing we do is we work on these beliefs. It is foundational. You cannot do anything if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in your dreams and goals that you're working towards, and you don't believe in the tools and techniques you're using to get there. You're going to self-sabotage every time. So you have to start there. And what we do is we start with those stories. I talk about it, the stories that we tell. So if I said to you, life is, what would you say?
I would probably say something based on what I'm currently experiencing versus the things I've overcome. I would
which is
focus on the now.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because that is your current belief system. So some people say, life is hard. Well, then I've got news for you. Life is likely to be hard for you. And
Yeah.
even if it isn't, even if if there's ease in your life in certain aspects, you're not going to recognize it because your paradigm, your perspective, and therefore your reality is that life is hard.
Mhm.
So even if you have to go out looking for it, you're going to find ways to make life hard. And we come at it from that perspective. We identify these stories that we tell, and we look at the core aspects of most people's life, their family, their work, their health and fitness, their social aspects, their spiritual aspects, all these things that kind of make a whole self health and the balance of a life. We look at all the stories that come up from that and we identify them. And then we start to build the tools to rewrite them, to shift them. And it's not enough to say, so maybe one of your struggles is, I'm not smart enough or I'm dumb.
Mhm.
You can't just flip that and go, okay, I'm a genius. Your brain's going to reject that every time. You're going to have a glitch in the matrix. It's never going to work.
Mhm.
But you can go from saying, I'm dumb to
Mhm.
saying, I am capable of learning new things.
Mhm.
That's a step we can take. That's something we can believe. That's something we can tell ourselves. So every time that I'm dumb comes up, we say, but I'm capable of learning new things. And then you can advance that to, I can learn all the things I need to advance myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
To, I am an expert in this field and I can continue to develop and grow. And you see how you can take that progression, you can take the steps and just continue to empower yourself through these new beliefs. And you have to be aware it takes work. You
Yeah.
can't rewrite this overnight because it took a lifetime to get you to this point.
Mhm.
But it is incredibly possible once you are aware. And if you're willing to do the work, then you can get these beliefs working for you instead of sabotaging you.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. And so many of us, we look for results or solutions from other people who have no clue what they're doing, uh, who doesn't have the same interest or passion or vision for their life to change. Um, as I'm learning, all of the answers are in us, but we somehow find the time or not find the time to try and retrieve answers from other people. Yeah.
Well, we're very much raised to look outside ourselves for answers. That's the way our education system is designed. That's the way a lot of jobs are designed. You have to be educated by someone else. You have to be trained by someone else. And certainly that can make the process faster. It makes it so much faster to get outside help on it. But when you look internally, you're going to find the kind of thing that resonates for you. And that's when it's going to click.
Mhm.
So it's good and important to let outside influences bring you more information and then to evaluate it based on your inner paradigm, because that's how you're going to find all of the elements that really make sense for you. You
Mhm.
take what makes sense and you leave the rest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I find great joy in observing people without saying anything, because I don't have to say anything to know uh, the way they're talking or behaving is connected to something deeper, right? Speaking of connected, tell me more about what you do as an intuitive mindset reader.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'd love to because it does very much connect with that sensitivity. And being a people watcher and a student of human nature is a great way to start. When you watch people, you get a sense of, okay, they are absolutely just telling a story right now. Like that is totally, they're lying. Like, nothing they're saying is making sense. That's a total act. Whereas other people, you're like, wow, they are smiling, but they are so sad right now.
Mm,
And nothing necessarily in what they're saying makes
mhm,
that make sense, but you just get a feel for them. People can't help the ways that they express, micro expressions or the words that are chosen.
Mhm.
they'll clue you into people's true intentions every time.
Oh, yeah.
And that is kind of a place I started. And um, in my own spiritual path and coming to understand myself since my teens back in the 90s, not to date myself, I came to understand that I had a path to follow that was more earth based, more pagan style. And tarot was always an aspect of that, tarot cards. Had always been something that I read and expressed my spirituality through,
Mhm.
but I was always one of those people who had to reach for the book. I'd pull out the cards and I'd need to reach for the book and look up the definition
Mhm.
because I was looking at these cards and I see what's on them, but it just doesn't speak to me. I'm like reading the book. Okay, yeah, I guess that sort of makes sense. I can kind of see that. Okay. And that was how it was for the majority of my life. And then when I had my son, my intuition just kind of unlocked or leveled up, or however you want to talk about it. And as I was bringing my spirituality back in, as I was working to get back into my practice for my own health and fitness and my own whole self healthy balance, my spirituality was one of the elements. And I was doing my card pulls for myself, and reading the cards was suddenly like having a conversation. I didn't need the book anymore. I was seeing this wealth of meaning in each card and the way they interrelated, that it's like going from a black and white movie to Technicolor all of a sudden. It was just mind-boggling how much was coming through. And it, I haven't even begun to understand how deep this goes. I've been assured that that's something that I'm going to be developing over the years, and I haven't seen how far it goes just yet. But even just what I have experienced has been so incredible, because it's just like this reassurance, this constant reassurance that I have this aspect of self or this higher power that I can go to, that I can ask for reassurance when I have self doubt, when I'm just not quite sure, if should I go this way, should I go that way? I now have complete faith that I can find the answer
Mhm.
through my intuitive gifts. And in reading for other people, it was a big step out of my comfort zone to start reading for other people.
Mhm.
And I started small, but the more I read, the more people were just blown away. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that's, that's exactly what I needed to hear. That is exactly what I didn't even know that I needed that kind of reassurance. I didn't know that that was a possibility for me, but it is so clear now and it resonates so strongly." And the more that happened, the more I was just like, okay, can't really question this.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. Um, so much to unpack. What was your experience, um, while you were learning to read the cards? Did they always speak to you at times? Did you not have answers that you hoped you'd get from them?
Well, up until about a year, I guess we're at almost 2 years ago now, um, it was more going through the motions for me.
Mm.
Reading the cards was very much just going through the motions. I felt like I had a connection to them, but the messages I was getting through were not so clear. I mean, I guess you could, like, it was trying to communicate in Morse code, and I only knew half the alphabet. So I was sort of getting the messages, but missing quite a lot. And now there's just this deep sense of knowing, this just amazing, soul deep reassurance that if I have a question, I can go to the cards, I can go to my pendulum, I can go to these places in meditation, and I'm going to have an answer. And it's not, the analytical part of my brain would always question you, is that really an answer, or are you just making this all up?
Mm.
And the more I've worked with it over the last few years, as it's been revealing itself and forcing me into this path that I didn't necessarily think I had time to follow, every single aspect reaffirms. And not just the messages being given, but the way forward is just laying itself out for me. I think about starting my coaching business, and suddenly there's this incredible opportunity before me to work with a business and strategy coach who will take my business to the next level. And it's not even going to be a struggle to make it work. There's just every resistance I might have has an answer. It's just this beautiful way forward. And I think about wanting to write a book, and suddenly I'm connected with a publisher who is excited to work with me.
That's
It,
awesome.
it's, in part accepting that this is my path and this is really happening. So it's just this incredible sense of reassurance and reaffirmation that every time I doubt, or every time I struggle, or every time I question, it's like, here's the silver platter. So you can just stop wondering now, because here's where you go next, and it's super easy, and all you got to do is just keep going forward.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So do you have a team that helps you?
I have a
There are
lot of
guides,
people
skills.
that I
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's just me. It's just me right now. I have a lot of people that I collaborate with, a lot of other coaches, a lot of um like-minded individuals and friends, but it's just me at this point, and my amazing, incredible, supportive husband, who I am blessed every day to have in my life. He's my in-house tech support and my biggest cheerleader, and then all my three littles, who are my, my moral support. They're constantly keeping me in check and making sure I know that I'm doing this for a reason.
Thank you for sharing. Do you also get support? People here call it the other side, like angels, guides. If you don't mind, you can talk a little bit more about that, because I'm very interested.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I have several guides that I'm connected with, and I actually went through a process to meet a spirit guide that's specifically for my business, and that was a beautiful experience. And I've always had them, even as a child. When I was little, my younger sister wasn't born until I was 6, almost 7. So I spent a lot of years as an only child, and my parents thought I had this just wealth of imaginary friends, and they weren't in this world, so they very much thought I was just an overactive imagination kind of kid with all these imaginary friends, even to the point of there are they have stories about my imaginary friends tattling on me, which I know now was my guides possessing me and speaking through me,
Oh,
um, which freaked them out a little bit, but they rationalized it away, that I was just a very, very imaginative little kid, very dramatic. But my guides never meant me harm. They were just kind of mischievous. Um, and I've since grown into new guides. Life happens, you move away from it, you get told it's not real enough times that you accept it. And
mm,
then as an adult, I've come back to accepting what I do believe, what does feel right to me. And I do have guides around me all the time, showing me signs, communicating with me through various means. I'm not sensitive enough or psychic enough to see them or hear them, not with any regularity, but I do get feelings, and they make sure I see the synchronicities around me that show me what they want me to hear or what they want me to see and know. And they find ways to communicate with me all the time. And my children have them. Kids are often very sensitive, and so they attract those
mm,
kind of energies. And so it's really fun to see their guides, playing with them, and
mm.
know that my own guides are with me.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, I guess when it comes to all of that, I was in a way traumatized as a child, sometime as an adult as well, because growing up with different religions, anything that wasn't that you couldn't see with a physical eye was either evil, bad, and that person was going crazy. um, yeah, kids are very open, because I saw my grandfather as a child. I knew he had passed, but he was standing right there, and I turned again, he was there, and then I turned, he was gone. Yeah, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew more about my guides earlier, because I don't know. I didn't know who they were or what guides were until I think the last 2 years. I ended up seeing one of them, like in flesh. Because yeah, I didn't know who she was, but my friend kind of guided me and told me who she was. Yeah. Yeah, I saw her in flesh, and I saw my brother who passed in flesh. I don't know if this is something I came down here with, but I'm able to see them like real people. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a beautiful gift. And I think it is very easy to end up feeling crazy, to have people telling you that you're crazy, to feel like you need to keep this to yourself, to feel like you need to push it away and not pay attention to it because it's not widely supported in mainstream culture or religion. And it's something that you very much, like you were saying, have to look within to find the answers that make sense for you. You
Mhm.
find the people who don't make you feel crazy. You find the people who will listen and will help you develop that if it's something you want to.
Yeah.
And you learn the tips and techniques and individual tools that you're going to need to protect yourself, to invite those who have your highest interests at heart and are there to guide you, not mess with you, because there are some, not always maliciously. Some are just mischievous and just like to cause mayhem because it's fun for them. And that's kind of that fae mentality, the fairies and sprites and gnomes and all that jazz. They really like to, that energy messes with you and just for fun, um, which
Yeah.
is different from the ones that are kind of malevolent and antagonistic.
Mhm.
So inviting the ones that are there with messages to guide, with intent to help you live your highest good, you can feel it. You really
Mhm.
can. It's the same as observing people. You're going to get a sense for the people who have your best interests at heart versus the ones that don't. I mean, we've all had that experience where we walk into a room and there's that one person and you're like, I, I'm just going to, I'm not going to go anywhere near that person because their whole energy is making me feel like my skin is crawling, the hair on the back of your neck is raising on end. They just give you a bad vibe.
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
reason for that. And
Yeah.
that's an energy that is not just in the flesh, but is part of the resonance of that
Mhm.
spirit, that entity, whatever you want to call it. We are we are vibrational creatures. We know this from a scientific standpoint. We have energy fields and we can be very sensitive to them. And it doesn't have to be bound by a physical form for us to have a sense of it. So
Mhm.
when you accept only the things that resonate on your highest level, then you
Mhm.
can find the most amazing relationships with these guides.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, because I used to have sleep paralysis, and I would see. I don't know. They're not from this world, at least. And on top of it, mental health issues. That's why I had to get guidance to see what I'm seeing. And I remember one of my first vision was seeing Jesus' feet. I'm like, because I don't know, I went through the dark night of the soul. That was excruciating. I mean, I don't recommend it, but people have to go through it if they had to. Um, I can't even put it into words. I was freezing and I was very hot at the same time. I was shit terrified. um, it was just, it's like trying to pull something together apart and it's just fighting to not go apart or to come. It was just weird. Um, yeah, I'm learning that there's also some people call them dark entities, and that's also something that can create a lot of fear. I know it did for me, and now that I know how to clear things out, and I didn't know if I could talk to spirit. My friend said, "Yes, you can." Smudge and ask them to leave, and I did. And she did a house clearing because I learned that me and my daughter's aura field, it's so big that we were hearing just noise around. I'm like, what, who is here? What is this? And she told us it was the auric field, which is, it's fascinating. I love talking and hearing about that. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's where you have to just be open to the people who are going to give you guidance. That's where you do look to yourself to find what resonates as truth for you. But the best way to find that is by getting external support, by finding the books, the podcasts like this one, the coaches, the mentors, the communities. All of these places are places to look for more information, to find the answers to questions you don't even know to ask
Mm,
until you find the answer that is your truth. And once
mm,
you find that, then you can empower yourself. And
mm,
that is true in the metaphysical sense, and it's also true in the physical sense. It
yeah.
comes back to that belief. It it works in all of these aspects, but you do need to get yourself support. You need that village. It takes a village. We know this phrase as parents, we know it a lot, and it is truth,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we've talked about this too, how it can be so difficult to ask for that help, how it can be so difficult to accept it, how we expect so much of ourselves that we don't necessarily leave ourselves open for that guidance, for that support, for that help. And then we end up feeling lost. We end up feeling overwhelmed. We end up feeling crazy. And we go through these dark, dark places, the dark night of the soul kind of thing. And why that experience is so powerful is because it's this incredible rapid growth. And when
Mm,
you think about birth or rebirth or transformation, because this is something I also work with my clients on, transformation is not just change. Change is temporary. You lose a couple pounds one week, you've gained it back and then some the next week. That's change. It can go either way. Transformation is the kind of thing where you are fundamentally different on the other side of it. It is that birth process. You're never going back into the womb. You come out and you are in a whole new environment. It is no longer liquid based. Now you're breathing air and you have to figure that out. Now you're having to eat instead of just being fed by an umbilical cord. And that is a terrifying, painful, messy process. And it can happen on a spiritual level as well. And it can happen on a mindset and, self-identity way as well. Like my depression was a bit of this experience. And if you want to think about it in a less um, baby being born kind of aspect for those who are not moms and haven't been through that experience, you can think about it in terms, I talk about this a lot, as a caterpillar. So the caterpillar forms the cocoon and it goes inside the cocoon and it grows and it shifts and it changes. And that process takes time. It is incredibly uncomfortable. You
mm,
can only imagine. And then it has to break out of that comfortable dark space. And even if it was even if it's in pain in that spot, it's dark and it's secure and it's built just to your form and you know what to expect in that space. And even if you're miserable, you know what to expect. So you don't have to fear the unknown. But as soon as that caterpillar bursts out of that cocoon, it spreads these brilliant, beautiful, colorful wings. And it's no longer an earthbound creature. Now it can fly.
mhm, mhm. Oh, I love that example. I think you just described me. Because it's been painful, but it feels like I'm finally breathing, even though I've been breathing. I've found purpose, whereas before I would question what is the purpose or meaning of life, and that was given to me. It still is through visions and dreams and whatnot. Yeah, so cool. Um,
Yeah, you have to cut away what no longer serves you to be ready to accept that, to change enough to be the person, to transform into the person who can accept that purpose, who can live that way. And
mhm,
it is hard. It is messy, it is scary, and it is very personal. And what transformation looks like for each of us is going to be incredibly individualized. But it is also amazing when you come to the other side of it. If you can get through that process, if you can get through the dark night of the soul, if you can get through your darkest points, if you can look at yourself in that kind of way where, all right, this is not who I want to be, and I'm going to take this part of me out. And no matter how hard it is, no matter how much I have to work at keeping it away, I want what's on the other side. You really do. You get to this point where it's like you've taken your first deep breath in
mm,
far longer than you can remember.
yeah.
And you feel what it's like to actually smile a true smile, not the forced pleasantry smile, but just like a smile that lights you up from within and changes everything.
Yeah, my very wish is for everyone to experience that, but sadly, not all of us will, because it's a free will world, in the visible and the invisible. I suppose it's a choice, and some of
It
us
is.
come down and we leave, and we experience it when we leave. But I hope everybody someday get to bring a piece of that with them here and share it, which is what I think you're doing.
It
That's
is.
what
It is
you're doing.
100% what drives me is for those people who are ready, because you have to be ready. We just talked about it's not going to be fun at every stage. It is going to be hard. It's going to be work. And sometimes it's painful.
Mhm.
But if you are ready for that and you are ready for the possibility on the other side of it, if you are ready to spread your wings and learn what it's like to live in a world of bright color and flying to new heights than anything you could have conceived of before, if you are ready for that, then that is why I've been led to the place where I am. That is why I do what I do. That's the work I do with my clients. Because when you are ready, then you don't want to wait. And you don't need to do it all on your own. You absolutely can, but you don't need to. You don't need to make it harder on yourself.
Yeah.
And I love being in a place. I'm so honored to be in a place where I can guide other people through it and bring them to that place that's on the other side.
Mhm. That's amazing. I can tell. Yeah. What is a BETwixt method? Is that how we say it?
Yep,
Oh,
BETwixt.
okay.
So,
BETwixt. Okay.
yep.
All right. What is it?
Thank you for asking. I love talking about this. So it's exactly what I was just saying. It's the process that I take my clients through that bridges the gap from where they are right now betwixt where they want to be. So
Mhm.
it takes you where you're at in that place that you're at right now, where you're longing for something better, where you're dreaming about something more, but you're just not sure how to get there, but you're ready to take the steps. Then my betwixt method is the bridge that takes you from where you are to the life you dream of having. And there's three things that we work on, and we talked about it. We talked about it a lot already. So it starts with belief, because that's the foundation. If you don't have belief in yourself and your dreams and the tools you're going to use to get there, you'll never make it. You'll find ways to self sabotage every time. And nobody needs that. So we start building a foundation of belief.
Yeah.
Then I move into empowerment. And this is where I help them build a very custom, tailor structure of a whole self healthy life balance. Because so often when we start on this path, we've got these great goals and these dreams we want to accomplish. But if we don't take into account the things that matter most in our lives, then that's what trips us up. So say you want to make more money and there's this promotion you're going to go for at work and it requires a certain certification and you're going to need to do some class and you're really motivated to do that. But then a couple months in, you realize you've completely neglected your family and everybody's miserable. And now you just don't have the energy to keep going for this. And it doesn't matter anymore. Why would you want to make more money when your home life is falling apart? And that's kind of an extreme example, but when you build this structure of empowered, balanced, healthy lifestyle around the things that matter most, you take those things into account and you build your plans around them so that they don't end up sacrificing the things that matter most to you. And now fear doesn't take the wheel. So
Mhm.
your decisions are based on this very, very intentional structure, and you are empowered to make the investments you need to take the leaps you're going to learn the new things, because all of the things that are most important to you are balanced and are being accounted for, and you make very informed decisions. And then from there, we move into that transformation that we talked about, where you become a fundamentally different person. You become the person who is capable of having this life, this ideal life, this dream life, where you've got abundance, where you're in loving, healthy, supportive relationships, where you are bringing your whole family into that place that you've always wanted for them, where you're going for your dreams and your goals, and you're not sacrificing any of the things that are important, and you are not doing it so that others have less, but you are doing it to bring everyone in your circle to a higher place, because your kids watching you do this inspires them to accept nothing less than their best lives and shows them the way to do it.
Mhm.
It shows your family, your friends, your coworkers, your community that you do not have to settle for what you've always been told is possible for you. You do not have to live the life that is carved out in a very niche kind of be a cog in the machine and just take what you're given and don't ask questions kind of thing. You absolutely can reach for the stars. And when you get there, you can just keep going. You can just go for newer dreams and show everyone what is possible.
Mhm. Wow, I love that. That's amazing. That's amazing, amazing work that you're doing, because I think so many people need that to get back into alignment with who they are. Because it's not that we don't know better. Our free will sometimes get taken away from us or manipulated or destroyed. It's understanding that it's okay to rebuild and to gain experience and to learn. And I love that you're offering that and you're helping people. That's very powerful work. Yeah. Um,
It
so,
means so much to
uh,
me.
yeah, you're welcome. Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything we haven't covered that you would like to share?
Oh my gosh, I could talk about this stuff all day, every day, which is why I do. But no, I want everyone to know that the dream life that you have is not because you're selfish. It's not because you don't appreciate what you do have. I truly believe that these dream ideal lives that we have are there because that is the universe, spirit, the divine, whatever you want to name a higher power. That is them telling you this is a life you are meant to be living. This is
Mhm,
what you were here to be, to do, to have. And free will allows you to make the choice. And that
mhm,
choice is powerful. You can keep in what is familiar and you can stay in what you know, even if you're not very happy with it, and you'll get the same results as you've been getting. Or you can make the harder choice to change and to go for those things and to accept this life as what was meant to be yours. And if you are ready to do that, then it is absolutely possible. This is what I live every single day. It is how I manifested three beautiful, healthy children, even though I had all these infertility and health issues that should
mhm,
have prevented it. It's how I've manifested a health and fitness journey that I am on again. I have no doubt will be successful because I have all the tools I need now. I just manifested a book deal
oh,
that has been a lifelong dream for me. It, I can't even list all the things, but it is incredibly possible. If I can do it, then you can do it. And if anything I've said today resonates with you and you want to know more about it, then please, please reach out. You can schedule a free 30-minute discovery call with me and we can talk about where you are and what might be stopping you from getting to where you want to be and what it would look like for us to work together to do it, because you do absolutely deserve to live that dream life.
mhm. Wow, thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom and knowledge and things that you're passionate about. I can tell it brings you so much happiness and joy to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette, for letting me speak with you today. It's been a beautiful experience.
You're welcome.